I thought I knew who I married. But when I discovered his twin died at birth, everything started to unravel. Strange photos, cryptic warnings, and a woman who claims my husband isn't who he says he is. Now I'm questioning reality itself. I know how insane this sounds. If I read this myself 2 months ago, I'd roll my eyes and scroll right past it. But something is very wrong in my marriage, and I'm terrified I'm not living with the man I married. Let me back up. I've been married to Daniel for 6 years. We met through friends, clicked instantly, and moved in together within months. He was sweet, steady, smart. Not overly emotional, but loving in his own quiet way. We built a peaceful life, no drama, no secrets. Until recently. It started small. Weird gaps in memory. He'd forget things he just told me. He'd leave his keys in places he never used to, the freezer, the mailbox, once even under Claire's crib. At first, we laughed it off. Getting old, he'd say, even though he's only 34. But then it got stranger. One night, he called me Samantha. That's not my name. I froze. Who's Samantha? He looked at me like I was the crazy one. You're Samantha, he said, dead serious. I laughed awkwardly, thinking he was messing with me. Very funny, Dan. He didn't laugh. I brushed it off as a bad dream or maybe some stress at work, but the next morning, he didn't remember the conversation at all. Then came the nightmares. He'd wake up screaming, full body convulsions, mumbling things like, "Don't lock me in again," and "He took my name." One night, he clawed at the walls like he was trying to escape something. And every time I asked what was wrong, he'd say the same thing. I don't remember going to bed. It all came to a head 2 weeks ago when his mom visited. She's always been warm, chatty, one of those women who can't help but show off old photos. As she flipped through a photo album on our kitchen table, I pointed at a faded baby picture. "Who's this little guy?" Her smile faltered. That was supposed to be Daniel's twin." I blinked. "Supposed to be?" She hesitated, then admitted, "He didn't make it. Died during birth. Cord wrapped around his neck. We never really talked about it." I stared at her. Daniel had never mentioned a twin. Not once. In 6 years. That night, I asked him about it. His face went blank. "I don't have a twin." I told him what his mom said. Showed him the photo. He stared at it for a long time and then started crying. Uncontrollably. "I remember that room," he whispered. But from inside the crib. He wouldn't say another word after that. I tried calling his mom again, but she wouldn't answer. Texted me once, "Please leave it alone." Nothing since. Here's the part one can't explain. Last night, while he was showering, I looked through his drawer for his wallet. I didn't find it, but I did find a notebook. Old, leather-bound. I'd never seen it before. Inside, in shaky handwriting, were pages and pages of one sentence. "I am Daniel. He is gone. I am Daniel. He is gone." Over and over and over. And the final page? But what if he isn't? I don't know who's sleeping next to me anymore. And I don't think I want to find out. Should I run? Or should I try to save the man I love, if he's even still in there? I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the handwriting in that notebook. Uneven. Frantic. The kind of scrawl you'd see in a horror movie, right before someone snaps. "I am Daniel. He is gone." I lay in bed, stiff as a corpse, while he slept beside me. Peacefully. Breathing slow and steady. Too steady. At 3:14 a.m., I sat up suddenly, and it hit me. He hadn't moved once. No turning, no twitching, no dreams. Just lying there. Like he was pretending. In the morning, I pretended nothing was wrong. Kissed him on the cheek, poured him coffee. My hands shook as I stirred sugar into his mug. "Hey," I asked, casual, "do you remember what you dreamed about last night?" He blinked at me. I didn't sleep. I nearly dropped the spoon. "You were out cold," I said, forcing a smile. "Didn't move once." He tilted his head like a confused animal. "I was watching you sleep." I felt a chill crawl down my back. After he left for work, I called his mom again. This time, she answered. Before I could say anything, she whispered, "Don't ask me any more questions, Olivia." "I have to." "No, listen," she snapped. "I wasn't supposed to tell you about the twin. I made peace with that a long time ago. He doesn't know." "Not really." "What do you mean, not really?" But she'd already hung up. That afternoon, I called Daniel's office. "I need to talk to someone, anyone who might notice what I've been seeing." "Hi, is Daniel there?" A pause. Then, "I'm sorry, who?" "Daniel Moore. My husband. He works in finance." Another pause. Then a softer voice, "Ma'am, We don't have a Daniel Moore here. My mouth went dry. You must be mistaken. But they weren't. I hung up and sat frozen for a full minute. At 5:41 p.m., he walked through the door like nothing was wrong. Suit on. Tie perfect. Smiling. I decided to test him. Babe, I said, how was work? He hesitated. Just for a second. Then, busy. Long day of meetings. I faked a nod. Your boss still on your case? He laughed. Oh, yeah. He's relentless. He doesn't have a boss. Because he doesn't have a job. Because they've never heard of him. That night, I went through his wallet. It was there again, in the drawer where I know it wasn't before. Inside was his driver's license. Same photo. Same address. Same name. But the issue date? It was last week. And the birthday? One day earlier than Daniel's actual birth date. I checked our marriage certificate. It says he was born August 11th. The ID says August 10th. I confronted him. He didn't get angry. He didn't deny it. He just smiled and said, "You were never supposed to look that closely." Then he walked upstairs, whistling. I don't know who I married. I don't know what he is. But he's not Daniel. Not anymore. And I think whatever he is, it's getting stronger. I locked the bedroom door that night. It felt stupid, childish, even, but I couldn't help it. That smile he gave me before walking upstairs, it wasn't human. Not fully. It was like he was wearing Daniel's face. Like a mask. And for the first time since we met, I was terrified to be in the same house as him. Around midnight, I heard the doorknob rattle. Just once. Soft. Followed by a gentle knock. "Olivia," he called, his voice muffled but calm. "Why'd you lock the door?" I didn't answer. He waited for a while. Then footsteps, slowly retreating down the hall. I stayed up all night, wide-eyed under the blanket, clutching my phone like a lifeline. The next morning, the door was unlocked. I know I locked it. Double-checked. Triple-checked. But when I woke up, it stood wide open. He was downstairs making pancakes like nothing happened, humming the same strange tune he whistled last night. I didn't say a word. Just grabbed my keys and left. Drove to the library, one place I figured he'd never think to check. I needed answers. And I had one idea that felt insane, but somehow right. What if Daniel's twin didn't die at birth? What if he lived? I pulled old birth records for the year Daniel was born. August 11th, 1988. And there it was. Moore, Daniel. Male. Twin A. Moore, David. Male. Twin B. Stillbirth. Or, at least, that's what it originally said. The word stillbirth looked faded, almost like it had been added later. I asked the archivist if I could take a photo. She gave me a weird look, but nodded. As I stepped out into the sunlight, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls. All from him. 1 text. "Where are you?" Another one, 5 minutes later. "Come home. I made your favorite." I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to Daniel's childhood home. His mom didn't answer at first, but when I knocked a second time, she cracked the door open just wide enough for me to see her bloodshot eyes. "You need to stop digging," she whispered. I showed her the birth record. She went pale. "I knew it," I said. "There was a twin." Her voice cracked. "Yes. His name was David. He didn't die." I froze. "What?" She pulled me inside and slammed the door shut behind us. "He was born wrong, Olivia. Daniel was healthy, bright, sweet. But David, from the start, there was something dark in him. Cold. Doctors said he was emotionally unresponsive. But it was more than that. I felt sick." "So you gave him away?" "No," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "We institutionalized him. At a private facility. He was dangerous. At 4 years old, he pushed Daniel down the stairs and smiled while he bled. We were told he couldn't ever live a normal life." I felt the air leave my lungs. "Why didn't you tell me this?" I asked. "Because," she said, "David disappeared 10 years ago." My vision blurred. She leaned in. "That man in your house? That's not your husband. That's his twin." Just then, her phone buzzed. She glanced down and gasped. "It's him," she whispered. "He's outside." I looked through the blinds, and my blood ran cold. He was standing on the curb, still wearing Daniel's face, staring directly at the house, smiling. I didn't breathe, not even once. Through the slit in the blinds, I could see him, the man I'd lived with, loved, kissed, standing completely still by the mailbox. His head tilted just enough to feel off. That smile never moved. I whispered, "Call the police." "Daniel's." "No, David's." Mother looked like she was in shock. I can't. If he knows I told you, then we'll both be dead. I snapped, grabbing her landline. But before I could dial, the power cut out. The lights, the hum of the fridge, everything went silent. A second later, bang. A fist on the front door. Loud. Deliberate. I jumped back and fumbled with the phone, trying to dial 911. But the line was dead. He cut the power, I said. He cut the landline. Another bang. Then a third. Slow. Methodical. Her voice cracked. He knows how to get in. He grew up here. We ran. Back through the house, into the kitchen. I locked the back door and grabbed the biggest knife I could find. She pulled me toward the basement. There's a latch under the stairs. A storm shelter. We slipped down the narrow basement steps just as glass shattered upstairs. He was inside. Every board creaked under his feet as he walked through the house, slow, casual, like he had all the time in the world. I could hear the smile in his footsteps. We made it into the storm shelter, sealed the hatch, and turned off the small emergency lantern. Darkness. Her breath trembled. He always wanted to be Daniel. My throat tightened. He practiced his voice, copied how he smiled. He even tried to memorize his handwriting. We thought it was just jealousy until the accident. What accident? I whispered. 3 weeks before you met Daniel, there was a car crash. A fire. Daniel died instantly. I stared at her. My heart stopped. No, I breathed. That's not possible. I met Daniel after. He must have waited. Found you. Took his place. He knew everything. He had Daniel's phone, his clothes, even his face. Upstairs, a door creaked open. Then silence. Then footsteps on the basement stairs. He knew. He always knew. She sobbed quietly beside me. I covered her mouth gently and held my breath. His footsteps stopped, right above the shelter. Then his voice. Calm. Patient. Olivia. I flinched. I know you're scared. I'd never hurt you. I just want you to understand. Pause. You were supposed to love me. Not him. Me. He rapped his knuckles once on the hatch. But you're still lying. You're still hiding. And that hurts. A minute passed. Then 2. Then silence. We waited. We didn't move for over an hour. Finally, I climbed out. The house was empty. The front door stood wide open. But on the kitchen table was a photo I'd never seen before, one of me, sleeping. Taken from inside our bedroom. Scrawled on the back in red ink were just 4 words. Wrong twin, wrong life. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did his mother. We sat on our living room floor with all the lights on, once power came back, waiting for something, anything. The police came and went. Took the knife. Took the photo. They treated me like I was confused, like maybe I had imagined parts of it. But I didn't imagine the panic in her voice, or the terror in mine, or the photo with my sleeping face. I didn't go back to my house. I couldn't. Instead, I stayed in a hotel near the city and changed my number. I thought I could outrun him. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a voicemail from a blocked number. The voice was calm, controlled, just like always. You looked peaceful in that photo. I didn't want to wake you. I dropped the phone. The next day, the hotel staff told me someone had been snooping around the front desk, asking which room I was in. Male. Mid-30s. Smiling. So I left again. Rented a car. Drove 2 states away. Booked an Airbnb under a fake name. I told no one. And still, he found me. I came back to the house one evening, small place in the woods, and the front door was ajar. Inside, nothing stolen. Nothing touched. Except the mirror. He had written in lipstick. Let's stop pretending. That night, I broke. I sobbed until I couldn't breathe. Then I called her, his mother. She answered on the first ring. She sounded different. Calm. You have to come back, she said. There's more you don't know. I didn't want to. Every part of me screamed to run. But something in her tone. So I drove back. She was waiting for me on the porch. And in her lap, a photo album. Thick. Dusty. Leather-bound. This was locked in his father's old desk, she said. I didn't know it existed. She opened it. The first few pages were normal, birthdays, vacations, Christmas. Then they weren't. Photos of Daniel sleeping, Daniel showering, Daniel driving, all taken without his knowledge. Dozens, maybe hundreds. One, in particular, made me gag. A photo of Daniel, dead, burned, in the car, slumped over. He took this, I whispered. She nodded. And next to it, another photo. Me, at the grocery store, months before I ever met Daniel. He had been watching me long before we met. I stared at the page and felt something break inside me. He picked me, I whispered. No, she said. He chose you. We both fell silent. Then I flipped one more page. And that's when I saw it. A photo of his mother. Taken just hours ago. She hadn't left the house. But he had been here. He was watching us. My hand trembled as I touched the edge of the photo. It was her, no doubt. Sitting right there on the porch, in the same dress, same position, same weak smile. The timestamp in the corner? 45 minutes ago. She saw it too. Her eyes widened, and for the first time in days, she looked truly afraid. I stood up. We need to leave. Now. She didn't argue. We packed nothing, just her purse and the photo album, and got in my car. I didn't even lock the door behind us. What was the point? We drove with no destination. Just away. An hour passed. Then two. We didn't speak. I kept checking the rearview mirror. At a rest stop, I pulled into a gas station and parked under the bright lights. I needed to breathe. She went inside to get water. That's when I saw it. A man. Across the lot. Leaning against a dark SUV. Hands in his pockets. Not moving. Not blinking. His face. It was Daniel's. But it wasn't. It was colder. Thinner. His eyes darker. Lips twitching at the corners. He smiled. I floored it. We didn't stop until we reached a roadside motel 2 towns over. Paid in cash. Used fake names. Inside, we double-locked the door and shoved a chair under the handle. She was shaking as she spoke. There's something else, she whispered. Something I never told you. I waited. When Daniel was little. I found him sleepwalking one night. Talking to someone. Whispering. He said it was his brother. I frowned. But he didn't have a. He said his brother never died. The room felt colder suddenly. He told me he could feel him. That sometimes. They switched. My blood ran ice cold. I thought it was imagination. Just a child grieving. But then things started happening. Daniel would forget things. Say things I'd never told him. Or stare at me like he didn't recognize me. I swallowed hard. You think that thing pretending to be Daniel might be his brother. Or what's left of him. I stood up. But how? If he died? Maybe he didn't, she said quietly. Maybe something else was born with him. Something that wanted to be him. We fell into silence. My heart thundered in my chest. Then, her phone buzzed. One new message. No number. Just an image. A live photo. Taken seconds ago. Of us. In this room. From outside the window. I didn't want to believe it. But the image on her phone was real. Us. In this motel room. Taken from outside the window. My hand was still in mid-gesture, pointing at the phone she now held like it was a live grenade. We both froze. Then I lunged for the curtain and yanked it open. Nothing. Just a cracked parking lot and a flickering street lamp. No one. No car. No shadow. My stomach turned. Whoever, whatever, was out there. They were close. And they wanted us to know it. I turned to her. We're leaving. Now. She didn't argue. She just grabbed her purse, clutching it like a lifeline. I shoved open the door and did a full sweep of the lot. Still no sign of anyone. We drove for hours. Through dead highways and empty towns. Until the sun started bleeding through the horizon and the world looked slightly less haunted. We stopped at a diner. The kind with bad coffee and a jukebox that hasn't worked since the 90s. She barely touched her food. I didn't eat it all. That's when she finally said it. There's one place we could go. One person who might help. I leaned in. Who? She looked down. His grandmother. I blinked. I thought she passed away. She didn't. She just disappeared. Apparently, years ago, after Daniel's father died, his grandmother, a strange woman already obsessed with dreams, spirits, and the veil between worlds, went off the grid. Everyone assumed she was dead, but she wasn't. She sends me letters, she whispered. No return address. Just warnings. I was stunned. And you never thought to mention this before? I thought she was crazy. But now I think she knew. I think she knows what Daniel really is. We drove again. She gave vague directions from memory, and hours later we were deep in the woods, no signal, no signs of life. Finally, a cabin. Old. Sagging. Overgrown with moss and time. It looked dead. But as we stepped out of the car, the door creaked open. An old woman stood in the doorway. Thin. Sharp-eyed. Dressed in black. You finally came, she said, like she'd been expecting us for years. Before we could speak, she stepped aside. He's not your husband. He never was. My chest tightened. Then what is he? She gave a hollow smile. He's the one who came through when the other one died. The wind picked up. The forest behind us seemed to shift. And then she said something I'll never forget. You're not running from him anymore. You're walking into his world.